When a fearful avoidant ruptures and comes back as if nothing happened, it's usually not out of malicious intent, even though, yes, it may feel and seem that way. It's actually a survival pattern. They learned to manage emotional risk when they don't trust that safety is going to stick around. But here's what's really going on internally. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Rachel, self-worth relationship coach that specializes in attachment healing so that you can love yourself deeply and connect with others fully. I am also a healed fearful avoidant, so this is in fact a sneak peek inside the FA mind. Fearful avoidants live with two opposing internal drives: this intense desire and longing for connection, and also a simultaneous deep fear of that very connection, which ends up creating, of course, this never-ending internal conflict. When something in a relationship feels like it might expose them, reject them, or even demand more of them than they can give in the moment, the nervous system shifts to protect them, usually by rupturing, like pulling away, shutting down, picking fights, breaking up. But later on, once that initial protection layer softens and regulates, this is when the loneliness, the shame, the memory of what they valued tends to bring them back and act as if nothing happened. Fearful avoidants have this baseline sense of safety, just like we all, but for fearful avoidants in particular, the window of tolerance is very, very narrow. And they also have a heightened amygdala activation. This is the area of the brain that is responsible for our survival responses, which means that fearful avoidants are pretty much like living on edge constantly, especially in relationships. Again, there is that deep longing and craving for closeness, also the expectation that that closeness is going to hurt. Say that you add in a trigger or a perceived threat, again, because fearful avoidants have such a narrow window of tolerance, because there are so many protective layers, they can become triggered by the smallest things. It's not so much about the context of the experience as it is about the internalized experience. Then flips the fearful avoidant brain into that black and white protection mode thinking. We cannot connect when we are in protection mode. When they go into their survival response, the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, their inner narrative also shifts as well. It goes into catastrophizing mode. They can end up justifying their pulling away. So in order to reduce the threat, oftentimes fearful avoidants will distance themselves, ghosting, stonewalling, picking fights, breaking up, canceling plans, cutting off communication, like blocking someone. More often than not, this is a regulation attempt, creating immediate emotional space so they don't feel so overwhelmed. Is it healthy? Is it helpful for connection? No, but this is a regulation attempt, and this is how they learned to regulate and protect themselves. Of course, this only provides short-term relief and usually long-term consequences. It may briefly calm their nervous system, but the shame and the loneliness that follows tends to build. And sometimes the shame can keep them from repairing, but sometimes the emotional rewards of the connection can bring them back. In that process, they may oscillate between that anxious pursuit and the avoidant pulling away, especially if their underlying fear was never processed. Not only now does their partner feel wildly confused and unsafe in the connection, also wildly confusing and shame-inducing for the fearful avoidant. It makes total sense that the partner would perceive this as manipulative or games, or that there's a lack of love, but it's actually a frightened attempt at self-preservation, not proof that there is an absence of caring or love. But of course, it does not make it okay. For the fearful avoidants out there, I want to make this so crystal clear for you. This does not mean that you're impossible to love. This does not mean that if you have done this, you are not deserving of healthy love. It just means that this is how you learned to survive when safety felt uncertain and it had served a purpose. Right now, you are still operating from the old story. Healing isn't about hitting the mark every single time, okay? It's not about being perfect. It's not about fixing yourself. It's about creating the internal safety so you can stay present and create new safety signals in your body that allow you to stay connected even if it's uncomfortable.